Atachetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karisyasi tatasva dharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi atachetvam imam dhamyam sangramam na karisyasi tatatva papam avapsyasi. Mukta Sangha.
Atachetvam imam dharmyam sangramam
na karishyasi
tatasva dharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi
imam this dharmyam as a religious duty sangramam fighting do not karishyasi perform tata then svadharmam your religious duty kirtim reputation cha also hitva losing papam. There's always numerous of the essential it's the essential quality or aspect or function of a thing which makes it what it is. You follow? You got it? Yeah, okay. Without which it is no longer that thing. So in other words, dharma can't be changed. You follow? Okay. So in that sense, so for example, you take the example of sugar. The great acharyas and teachers get a pet to serve, but service is always there. Always. So there's a variety of services we do throughout the day. So in that sense, when people say things like they're following Hindu Dharma, or Christian Dharma, or Muslim Dharma, they're missing the point a little bit. Because one can change those aspects. One can change from a Christian to the beloved without consideration. So I was making that point. And then somebody later in the audience, they came up to me afterwards and says, I want you to go see one of my spiritual teacher because he gives special miracles and he'll give you gold. Missed the whole point, right? Ahaitaki means there's no material cause for that service, and apritiyata means it can't be stopped in any circumstance. You can do it anywhere. Okay, yeah. This is what we're precisely the kind of dharma that Lord Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to follow in this verse in the Bhagavad Gita. And with this understanding of dharma, all the seemingly contradictory instructions immediately become clear. Therefore, near the end, which means you just become my instrument. In this battle, I've already killed all the opposing elements. You just be my instrument for that. So this is our position. We learn, dharma means to learn how to become the instrument. So if it was just fighting, then that's all he would have to do his duty. Why does he say this? You can do your duty, but you always should remember me. Always remember me in the execution of your duty. And you know what that's called? Always remembering God? That's called meditation. And that's called bhakti yoga. He says, man mana, always think of me. Bhava mad bhakto, become my devotee. So we are not fighters, but the acharyas, the teachers in this line of disciplic succession of teachers from Krishna himself, they encourage us, arrange your life in such a way as to always remember Krishna and never forget him. That's a big order. Arrange your life in such a way that you always remember Krishna and never forget him. Now, so in order to do that, there's a few things that are recommended. We can't work too hard just for maintenance. In the statistics they tell you, over the course of the last 50 years, people in the United States are working harder and harder and harder. More hours they're putting in, right? But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, nobody can become a yogi if he eats too much, eats too little, sleeps too much, does not sleep enough, works too long. Yeah. One has to be moderate in their habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. Why? Well, it takes some time to become spiritually conscious. Yeah, and it's not an easy thing. It's simple, but it's not easy. So you have to have that time. And if you don't dedicate that time, well, the whole purpose of life will be gone. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Dharma swanushtita pumsam. We were talking about swadharma. Swadharma means your duty. Dharma swanushtita pumsam. If you do your duty, your swadharma, your occupational duty, or your duty to your family members, friends, very nicely, vishvakshena katasuya, but you don't develop love and devotion to God, swanusyatasya dharma, that means shrama eva hi kevalam. Shrama eva hi kevalam means you really wasted your life. Not only one time it says, eva hi kevalam means completely, entirely finished. It's done. Your life is wasted. We've wasted our life if we don't do that. Because that's the difference between the human being and the animal life. In every species, there's a father, there's a mother, their friends, their relatives, every species. It's only in the human form of life that we have the opportunity to develop our spiritual consciousness and understand our relationship with God. So if we don't do that, if we miss that opportunity, what a great tragedy that is. So therefore, Krishna says, don't work too hard. If you look around, who's maintaining the birds and the elephants? And they never go to the office. At least we don't think so. They don't go to the office. Who's maintaining them? You know, how much does an elephant eat? There are lots, but they're being maintained by Krishna. Similarly, we should understand that no, Krishna will maintain us. We can't work too hard for maintenance. And whatever that extra time is, use it for spiritual realization and doing that service of bhakti to God. But most of us, we don't give enough time for self-realization. Most of us do not. So we need to seek out ways that we can increase our energy and our time that we can devote to spiritual development, to make spiritual progress. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tesam satata yuktanam. Tesham satata yuktanam, which means to those people who are constantly devoted. Satata means always. Ooh, always. Always devoted. And worship me with love. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So that's like the ruler, the thing you can do. So if we want to make spiritual progress, we have to think how we can do more service for Lord Krishna. How we can do that. Everybody has their own situation, and I don't know what it is, but how can you do more service for Krishna? Yeah. But what about all those other dharmas? What about our occupation, our family, all those other things we have going on? There's so many important things. It's very interesting. You know that there are different sages and saints mentioned in the Vedic literature, and they're extolled, their activities. For example, there was a king named Bali Maharaj. You know Bali? Maharaj Bali. He was noted because his spiritual master, and he was his teacher, his spiritual preceptor, he gave him an instruction. And that instruction was, don't give anything to Vishnu. Hold on to it. Because otherwise the teacher wasn't going to get paid nicely. So Bali was very noteworthy because he rejected the advice of his spiritual master, of his teacher, in order to give service to Vishnu. So which is higher? Which dharma is higher? The service of Krishna is higher. You know, in the story of Lord Ramchandra, the history of Lord Ramchandra, what was Lord Ramchandra's father's name? Dasharat. Yes, Dasharat. And Dasharat had more than one wife. And there was one wife named Kaikeyi. Yeah. And her son was
Lakshman.
Bharat. Usually, children are supposed to be respectful and of their parents, right? Yeah. But when Kaikeyi influenced her husband to get rid of Lord Ram and send him to the forest, you know what Bharat did?
Broke the relation.
He rejected her. Prahlad, so the dharma is you're supposed to worship, to serve your parents. Okay, well this took precedence. She rejected Ram, so he rejected her. Hiranyakashipu was the father of Prahlad Maharaj, and he said the same thing. Don't worship Vishnu. Stop this chanting Hare Krishna. He rejected Hiranyakashipu. So, there's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It goes like this. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitrinam nakinkaro nayam rini charajan sarvatmana yash sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. I'll translate. This is a discussion between Maharaj Nimi and sages of the sons of Rishabdev. O king, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda. Mukunda is a name for
Lord Krishna.
Krishna, gives one who gives liberation. One who has given up and taken full shelter of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to demigods, sages, living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers. Since all classes of living beings are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. It's very similar to if you want to make a tree healthy, you don't water the leaves or the branches or the bark. Where do you water? The root. And then everything automatically, all the other parts get satisfied. So in the similar way, by offering service to Mukunda, all those duties, the other duties that were in our relatives, when sometimes it's very common when people go to India from United States, there's so many relatives in India, and people who are in the United States, they're usually get a little more money. Isn't it? Yes. So you have to bring presents to the relatives, isn't it? Yeah, you know. There's it used to be more than it. We were talking about some of them. But there's also, you say, well, those scriptures, they're like, hundreds of years ago. What we're talking about modern life now. Come on. What about that? Well, there is a very modern saintly person who happened to come to the United States in 1965 and teach us how to do this, how to apply these tenets of Bhagavad Gita. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And one can study his life and get details. Not only he wrote books, but he also wrote thousands of letters to instruct his disciples about what to do in all these various circumstances. So this is a wealth of knowledge. So we have our duty. Krishna is encouraging our duty. Do your duty. What is our duty? What was our duty according to what I'm talking? To serve Krishna. And how to apply that is really important. So then, there's all these different kinds of duties. The duty to serve Krishna, but even within serving Krishna, there's all kinds of duties. There's also something called Yuga Dharma. Have you heard of that? Yuga Dharma. There's different times and ages, just like there's winter, spring, summer, fall. There's also 4 ages within this universe and the earth planet. It's called Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. And things start out kind of nice, but like everything within time, it degrades over as the time continues. You buy a new car, has that new car smell. Then after, somebody, in the parking lot, just, all those things happen. So over time, things degrade. So in Kali Yuga, we're in Kali Yuga now. And in Kali Yuga, there's a Yuga Dharma. The Yuga Dharma is chanting the holy names of God. Just like we did a few minutes ago, and we're going to do it again. Chanting the holy names of God is the Yuga Dharma, and that instruction, that Dharma, that duty, is the same. Srila Prabhupada said, that verse I quoted, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, give up all other duties and surrender to me. He said, the same instruction was given by Lord Chaitanya, the incarnation in Kali Yuga, by saying, chant the holy names of God. Chant the holy names of God. Chant the holy names of God. That's the most important dharma for everybody here. So Lord Chaitanya encouraged everybody, doesn't matter what name of God, but any bona fide name of God, introduce that, include that in your daily activities. Include that in your daily activities. And the result will be, you will become spiritually developed, and you'll become peaceful and free from anxiety. And at the end of life, you'll free yourself from birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. This is Lord Chaitanya's, that's the Hare Krishna movement. Srila Prabhupada brought here to this country. Devotees in this line, they're looking for ways to serve Krishna, and especially looking for ways to chant the holy names. So sometimes, there's two ways to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. One is individually, it's called japa. You do for your own advancement. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You do this. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. So people who are kind of serious on this, they chant regularly, 16 rounds. It takes about 2 hours. But if you're beginning, that's okay, chant. Yeah. And there's also something called Sankirtan. Sankirtan means getting together. You have friends, you have relatives. You get those friends and relatives together, and together, sometimes with the drum, sometimes with the harmonium, sometimes with kartal, sometimes with flute, sometimes with bass or other things. Bring together and chant the Hare Krishna mantra with music. And those two things together, they are very, very powerful. They will give you spiritual development very, very quickly. Very quickly. And the opposite side there, what does it say at the end there? You will, if you neglect your duty, you'll certainly incur sin. You got to do stuff. You got to do things. So either you're going to be doing activities of serving Krishna, or there's something else going on. And there's something else going on that's going to tie you to the material world. Krishna says that in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Jagyartat karmanonyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Our work has to be done as a sacrifice, as a service for Vishnu, for God. Otherwise, that work that you do is going to bind you to the cycle of birth and death. That's that. So this is Krishna's message here in Bhagavad Gita. What is the duty? Let's see, getting golden from miracles? No. What is the essential message of Krishna saying the duty of us is? Yeah. Bhakti yoga, service to Krishna. Yeah. Thank you. So are there any questions? I stopped a little early. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions or comments, that's fine. We're scared everybody.
In Prabhuji, you told like in 4 yuga, Satyug, Tretajug, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. So were there different dharma on that time?
Yes. In the good question. In the Satya Yuga, the first age when people tended to be much more peaceful, and there were too many, cities like Philadelphia and all that. The method was meditation. People would go to the forest and meditate for long periods of time. Usually they have to go in by themselves, and they would have to sit. It's mentioned very, very briefly in Bhagavad Gita that they'd have to sit on a deer skin and a soft cloth. You know why a deer skin? Because in the forest there's snakes. So if the yogi is always going to worry that there's going to be bitten by a snake, so the deer skin repels. It's a natural repellent of snakes. Yeah. So anyway, but they would be doing meditations, and there's descriptions of those previous ages, and they would meditate for long periods of time. I mean, we're talking about years. Once in a while, I think recently there was this Magh Mela, Kumbh Mela, every year and every 13 years in a place called
Prayagraj.
Prayag, yeah, where
Lava.
the Ganges and Yamuna rivers come together, and also Saraswati is underground. At a certain auspicious time, people come to there and they take holy bath. And at that time, you'll see sometimes yogis from the Himalayas come out of their meditation, come for that special time. And so when your life is measured by how many breaths you take. So if you can stop your breathing, then you can prolong your duration of life. But we're not. That's very, very rare. Maybe somebody one in a million, one in many million could do that. No, for most people, it's not possible. So in this age, Treta Yuga was a big sacrifice. It was very, very expensive. In Dvapara Yuga, the just last Yuga, the method was very elaborate deity worship, archan. So those things are all there, but the really powerful, potent one for this age, Kali Yuga, is the chanting of the holy names, regular chanting of the holy names of God. It's the most important.
Is the Kali Yuga the last Yuga?
Yes, it goes for. You'd think it'd hopefully be over soon, but it's not. It's going on for several 100,000 years more. It's going to get worse. So you better get out now while you got a chance, because it's not getting any better. Even in your lifetime, in my lifetime, you can see things have gotten worse. You know, things are getting worse and worse. So, I mean, from the material point of view, sometimes when something's bad in the material point of view, wakes you up and say, hey, this is not my real place. This is not where I have to be. We're like fish out of water. We're struggling to be happy, but you can give a fish, a nice wife, car, house, bank balance, but because the fish is out of water, then nothing's going to work. So we're the soul, with spirit, soul, and eternal, but in this material atmosphere, we can't find the happiness that we really need, we really want. So sometimes when things get worse, it's a mercy from God to help to wake us up to what our real position, what our real ambition should be. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
And tonight, I wanted to thank our cooks for the Sunday feast every week when we go over there and honor the wonderful prasadam. Just doesn't appear out of magic. It usually requires a team of usually 8 to 12 devotees that come here. They start roughly about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they serve in the kitchen to prepare a wonderful meal for the deities. And then after it's offered to the deities, then we get a chance to enjoy it. So today there was a team. I don't have everybody's name, but the team leaders were Revati and Ramcharan Prabhus. There were quite a number of devotees over there. So when you see them, just say thank you, and acknowledge their great service that they're doing. I want to announce tonight's Sunday feast sponsor. So every feast that we have, we're grateful that it is sponsored by one of the congregational members, whether it's for a special occasion in your life, a birthday, an anniversary, or just for getting the blessing of serving the devotees. We have these Sunday feast sponsors tonight. And tonight we have Lakshmi. She has sponsored the Sunday feast for her grandmother, Rajabala Manda. So we'd like to invite you up here, please. And we want to offer you some prasad. Shampabu. So you have a picture of your grandmother? So if you can hold that up, we'll put a garland around her. And I ask the devotees to please offer your prayers and raise your hands and chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, very loudly with your heart.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. And these are sweets that are offered to the deities. These are Mangalartik sweets. So every morning, right when the deities get woken, at 4:30 in the morning, they get offered these milk sweets. So they're for yours to enjoy. Hare Krishna. Events that are coming up. Every week we have Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night programs. Tuesday night we have stories from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Wednesday we have our Kirtan night, and Thursday is our Srila Prabhupada Leela night, where we get to sit, where we get to learn about how Srila Prabhupada spread the Hare Krishna movement. Each of the programs begin at 6:30, they end at 8, and at 8 o'clock there is prasadam that is served, so you don't have to worry about going home and eating. You can have prasadam with us at 8 o'clock many of these nights. This particular this Wednesday is ISKCON, fast from beans and grains. It's also a half-day fast, because the next day is Lord Varaha's appearance day. So we do a half-day fast on Wednesday, and it's also ISKCON. And then on Friday, we have the auspicious day of Nityananda Trayodasi. This is the appearance day of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Shri Nitai ki Jai. Lord Nityananda ki Jai. So this is a half-day fast. We'll be celebrating for the devotees that are observing. And we'll be celebrating in the evening here at the temple. We'll have kirtan and stories starting at 6 o'clock. The arti, we'll have a class, we'll have prasadam. And then we'll be doing something that doesn't happen too often here. We're going to be doing the Shayan Arti at 9 o'clock. So we want to keep the kirtan going on throughout the night. By the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he's known as the most merciful. Patita Pavana, Sridhata. He's it's explained that, this particular incarnation comes to deliver the most fallen. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya came to deliver love of God, but it's explained that Lord Nityananda came to rip the doors off the storehouse of love of God and just freely distribute it to whoever he met. So this is a day to really kind of soak up the mercy, immerse ourselves in chanting the holy names, which is a gift of Lord Nitai that he gave to the world. And so we'll be doing that. So please mark that on your calendar. Anybody that would like help to help put on this festival, whether it's coming here to help prepare the feast, to help with decorations, or we need sponsorships for the feast to help this program go on. So if you're interested in sponsoring the feast, flower garlands, you can do so at the front desk. Again, this is this Friday, starting at 6 o'clock. We need some volunteers starting the following week. The week of Valentine's Day, for those that are newer to the temple here. Every year we do a big fundraiser on Valentine's Day, and it helps, it's one of the major fund contributions that we have to help sustain and run the temple. Devotees go out and they sell flowers, and we need some help. In the past, we've been very fortunate to have people come during the day, help put together bouquets of flowers. And the devotees that usually do that are the ones taking care of the deities. So we're going to call on some congregation members also to come and help prepare cooking. That's if you're initiated, and those who are second initiated. If you're interested and can, please come see me or Sean, and we can get you involved in doing some deity service. But we need some volunteers. Every year this goes on. Krishna makes all the arrangements for it to go on, but I want to let you know that please come if you can. If you come, just make garlands bouquets of flowers. If you're interested in going out and selling, you can join the devotees that go out and sell flowers. So They start on, I think, Tuesday to go out, and then Valentine's Day is on that Friday. So the big push is that Thursday and Friday, the 13th and the 14th. So please consider that if you have the opportunity to do that. All the proceeds go to the temple and help us, do the things that we do. We have the children coming down to do the prasadam prayers. We got the MSF announcement from David Tarpon.
Hare Krishna. So today is 2nd of February, and very soon, the coming Saturday will be the monthly Sankirtan festival, which will be the 8th of February. So many of you may know that every second Saturday of the month, we celebrate the monthly Sankirtan festival. As His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu was talking about the biggest yuga dharma of Kali Yuga is Sankirtan. So that's what the devotees of Philadelphia do. So the devotees go out in different parts of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and what they do, they spread the message of Krishna. So this month we have Nityanand Triyodashi, the coming Friday, which is the 7th, and then the week following, the next week, is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day. Now we all know about Srila Prabhupada, but then Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is his spiritual master. And he instructed Srila Prabhupada to go to the West and preach Krishna consciousness. So we are so fortunate that we are in the West, and Prabhupada gave us so many books. He has written more than 100 of books. So this is the time when we can all go out and spread the mercy of Srila Prabhupada to people who need that. So last month, what we did was we formed teams. So teams are a group of devotees who go out in their own neighborhood because it is convenient for everyone. They can choose their own time. So this month also will be no different than how it was done in January. So we will be going out in teams. So it will be in Bensalem. It will be in King of Prussia. It will be also in New Jersey and in Philadelphia. We will send out the details in the monthly, in the weekly newsletter that will be in the coming week. But please do join, because this is the opportunity where we can do our part of Sanatana Dharma, the service to Krishna, by spreading his name to people in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.